Hello, this is Monica Sawyer. Welcome to Real Estate Investing for Women, where we focus on all aspects of real estate investing, including strategies, mindset, emotional mastery, money smarts, and so much more to ensure your success. If you'd like to learn my personal favorite investing strategy, just go to blissfulinvestor.com. You can also listen to this episode on the Real Estate Investing for Women podcast on iTunes. Now, let's welcome our guest. Today, I am so excited to welcome to the show Laurence Jankelow. Laurence is the co-founder of Avail, an all-in-one software solution designed for do-it-yourself landlords that is used by more than 600,000 landlords and tenants across the United States. Prior to launching Avail, Laurence spent 7 years in data analytics, first as a consultant at Protiviti Chicago, and then at Goldman Sachs. Originally from South Africa, Laurence has a hardworking spirit, and together with his co-founder Ryan Coon, they developed the idea for their company on a napkin that now solves the needs of thousands of landlords. Laurence is also a long-term real estate investor with a passion for 3-unit multifamily properties. Hey there, Laurence, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. So ladies, as you know, I pre-record many of these episodes, and Laurence is going to be with us again in a couple of months. I'm usually like 2 to 4 months recorded out, so you'll get to meet him again. But today I wanted to talk to him about, since he manages 600 doors, not 600,000 doors, not manages, but because they're in his system, he has a really good feel for what's going on with rents, given the current situation with COVID. And then of course, recently we've also had protests and some other things going on. So he's got some great analytics that I wanted to share with you. I will just say this. Normally my shows take 2 weeks to produce because my production company takes that long to edit shows. I wanted to get this out to you because it's time critical. So I wanted to get this out to you right now. So this is an unedited episode, and I hope that's okay with you. But definitely listen in. This information will be worth it. So Laurence, why don't you go ahead and just take it away? Give us an update on sort of what's going on in the market.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure. I think we'll talk about this in your next one, but Avail's essentially an online platform for landlords and tenants to manage their properties. And so one of the things that we do is allow tenants to pay their rent online. And because of that, we see real-time data of what's happening with rent for 400,000 tenants across the United States. I think we're in something like 18,000 zip codes, so very representative of the United States. And in March, when the pandemic was really catching a blaze, so to speak, here in the United States, there's a lot of fear happening around what was going to happen with unemployment and job security, rent payments, kind of everything, the whole economy. And, even before we had real-time data, we had actually sent out a survey to our landlords and tenants. We had 10,000 tenants respond. The survey asked things like, hey, it's middle of March. What are you planning on doing about your April rent? How has the escalating pandemic affected you? Have you maintained a job? Have you lost your job? And, in middle of March, we were seeing some really shocking results coming out of that survey, where something like 35% of tenants had said they'd already lost their jobs due to the pandemic. And that was within the first week or two of things being shut down. So really early on.
Wow.
And we went on and followed up with them and asked them, hey, are you planning on paying rent for, at that time it was going to be April 1st. And, 50% said, although they want to pay their rent, they're likely going to be unable to.
What percent?
50%.
50%. Wow.
So, and that's whether they, that's whether they lost their jobs and been unable to, or unable to get a line of credit for it. They themselves were predicting they'd be unable to pay their rent upcoming. And so we started off with that survey, and that kind of fed this fear, at least for us and our landlords. We started communicating that out. That actually picked up some news media for us. And well ahead of April 1st, we were starting to do kind of this media circuit. And it wasn't just us. We were seeing a lot of media trying to maybe suggest like the horrific is going to happen. and renters aren't going to pay rent, and that's going to trickle up to landlords not paying mortgages, and that's going to trickle up to defaults and all of that stuff. And but I'm actually proud to say the real data that came in April 1st was not what the survey had necessarily indicated. We saw that although it was worse than in prior months, it was nowhere near the doom and gloom that people had predicted. And we saw that April rents, something like 90% were paid in full. I think higher than average. I have the numbers in front of me here. Higher than average for the amount paid late by a little bit, but still generally on par with being paid on time. And so we looked at that. We saw the same thing happen in May, where a lot more people paid on time than I think everybody thought they were. And so part of what we wanted to then do was send the message of like, people are paying on time, and all this fear and doom and gloom that's being propagated by the media isn't necessarily accurate. And if you're a landlord now or in that time period, you were probably really worried, and you probably even now see that most of your tenants did pay on time. I think a lot of the things that the government did probably helped. Hard to tell. So for April, we saw that rent was later than normal. And I think what happened with April was stimulus checks went out, and then tenants were able to use that to catch up and pay their rent. So we saw rent being paid in full, maybe a little late. We saw by the end of April that unemployment, the initiatives on unemployment had kicked in, and people were no longer waiting as long in line as they were. So we saw that May was similar, higher than average amount being late, but still paid on time. And then June looks so far to be much the same. And so happy to report, our numbers are showing that, again, near 90% of rent is being paid on time, or in full, I should say, a little bit late. 18% paid late, roughly. So, but at least being paid. And so that's great. I think it does beg some questions, what will happen, because I know some of the stimulus stuff is over now, especially around unemployment. That's only going through July 31st. So is it time to get worried again for August 1st rent and September 1st rent? I don't know. I think there's a dialogue and discussion to be had there.
Awesome. Yeah, that was actually the next piece of the conversation, is sort of what is that dialogue going to look like? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I know there's a lot of talks about additional stimulus happening. I know that in various states, the economies are starting to reopen, and people who were on furloughs are being brought back in, or had lost their jobs are being brought back in. So I think there's somewhat of a race to rebound those positions before the stimulus runs out. And I don't know which is going to win, but I have a feeling, seeing how behaviors have trended, that if the race is lost and people aren't brought back into work as quickly, I think that what it ends up doing is it pushes rent to be late rather than not paid, from what we're seeing. So, not as much fear to be had, but maybe more encouraging for landlords to start thinking about, okay, I am going to get this rent. I can be patient and work with my tenants and keep that communication open. It's not that they're going to not pay. And, it just might be a little later, and then they don't have to start like doing War of the Worlds as soon as they thought.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good point. You don't want to, if people are paying rent and that's the expectation, but they're paying it a little bit late, if you don't get all your checks on the first, don't start freaking out. Don't start going into stress, and don't start attacking your tenants, right? You don't want to start the, 3 days or quit type of posting letters and threatening evictions and stuff like that, right? This is the time to really be patient and compassionate. You probably will get paid, right? And understand and remember that your tenants are your business partners. And so we need to be compassionate for them too. And I love the signs that they want to pay, they want to keep their homes, they want to be in partnership with their landlords. So that's really, really good news. And that's actually what I've been seeing in my own business. So, so that definitely confirms all of that. So thank you so much, Laurence. That was really valuable information, and I think it'll lower the stress of my listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a short message to deliver, right? That we
Mm-hmm.
don't need to be freaking out as much. And I wish the media would report on the good side of it more, or the truthful side, not to be anti-media or anything. But I think we can kind of take a step back, maybe relax a little bit. And then as long as we're keeping in contact and communication with our tenants and renters, and setting the expectation that it's okay to be a little late. We understand, you may still want to waive late fees this go around, just from a humanitarian effort.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. But proud to say that the data is showing people are paying, and then the survey had indicated that people wanted to pay if they were able to.
Got it. I love that. Thank you, Laurence. This has been a really quick show. And like Laurence says, the media is all about the hype, right? And they don't often report the good news. So I'm loving that Laurence came on and shared the good news with us. And I'm really excited to share his episode, which will be coming up in a few months. So you'll get to meet Laurence again and find out all about his software program, Avail. And so look forward to that. And ladies, again, this is going to be an unedited version of the episode because I wanted to get it out to you fast. So email me and let me know if this is okay. I hesitate to do really timely episodes because production takes a little bit more time. But if you're okay with me doing unedited episodes, I'm happy to do it again in the future. But I would like to hear from you and make sure that's okay. So I look forward to seeing you guys on the next show. Thank you for joining Laurence and I today. And always remember, goals without action are just dreams. So get out there, take action, and create the life your heart deeply desires. I'll see you soon. Bye. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to download my favorite investing strategy, just go to blissfulinvestor.com. See you next time.